Good evening. This is Rahul Reddy. I'm a mentor with Career Launcher Bangalore, and I'm here with Arjun Sarathi Krishnan, CLAT 24's All India Rank 176 and the Karnataka State Rank 10. So, welcome, Arjun.
Hi, sir.
So,
Good evening, sir.
good evening. First thing that we would like to ask is, when did you get this idea that you want to pursue law, and what were the circumstances that led to that decision?
Sir, the idea of doing law was something that I always had since I was very small, sir. I think, from fifth grade, I had my eyes set on law, and for some reason, it really motivated me simply because of how intense it was, how argumentative it was. I used to love doing debates from a very young age. So that was one of plenty other reasons as to why I wanted to take up law. And as and when I started to grow up and I started to go from one grade to another, I kind of had I made it clear that law is what I wanted to pursue. So I believe it was in eighth grade when I fully focused. I mean, when I finally realized that I don't want to pursue anything else but law, and I told my parents that law is what I wanted to do. And ever since then, I've had my eyes set on being a lawyer.
No debate in the family. They were easily convinced.
Yes, sir. They were convinced. There was no arguments at all. They were happy to help me become a lawyer.
Because I think point which needs to be made for all the viewers is that behind every successful candidate that we talk to, there is a set of extremely supportive parents, and their credit should always be noticed. Good. Uh, then, so by eighth, you're very clear, and then by then you probably start understanding what the top law colleges and the exam to get in and so on.
Yes, sir.
Right. So let's.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
was your what the decision to take up a stream in 11th and 12th, was that in any way influenced by your decision to go for law, which is already taken?
Yes, sir. So my current stream is commerce, and my elective is legal studies. Uh, I was quite lucky because exactly when I reached 11th grade was when my school introduced the concept of legal studies as an elective. So I was really fortunate in that manner because it only developed further, I would say, increased my love for the law. And the reason why I took commerce was because it wasn't that strenuous, and I also wanted to. I liked the subject of commerce. I liked all the subjects that were offered, so I decided to take it, and it would also help me with my career in law. So that is why I took commerce as my stream.
So then you started with Career Launcher at our Career Launcher Jayanagar office, right?
Yes, sir.
So any thing that you would like to share about your journey preparing with Career Launcher and specifically the Jayanagar center?
Yeah, so I would say Career Launcher, of course, played a huge positive role in towards preparing me for to appear for the CLAT exam, simply because of how safe and how interactive the environment is. I have been to tuitions in my 10th grade for certain subjects, and the difference is that the atmosphere you get in a tuition is not the same that you have in a classroom. It's very different. But then one thing that I really appreciated about Career Launcher was that it still felt like a classroom. Everybody present in that particular room was very interactive, and it was, yeah, like I said, it feels like a classroom. So it really helped me cope with the pressure of dealing with CLAT. And moreover, the faculty present at Career Launcher, since I was a Jayanagar student, I mean, they were absolutely brilliant. They were extremely approachable, and it made the process a whole lot easier and simpler for me, at least. So in that way, I felt Career Launcher in general was like played a huge impact for me to successfully clear the exam.
I think just to reiterate the point, some of the classes, I think especially the legal ones, they tend to be extremely, you could call it noisy, but it's almost like, a lot of mini debates erupting throughout the classroom. And part of it is the approach where we look at saying that, look, uh, people are aiming to become lawyers and they should have point of views. They should be willing to disagree as well. And but if they disagree, they should make an argument why they are right and why their point is correct. So good.
So I
So
think
from
that
outside,
was
it looks pretty noisy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
go
I
ahead, go
think
ahead.
that made me like the classes even more, simply because it was not monotonous and it was not a monologue. It was active. It was an active and interactive class where constant arguments, constant tussles always took place, and I think that is very important when it comes to learning, because it's not just learning the right answer. It's also important to know why we are wrong, and that only happens upon arguments. So I think in that sense, it played a really really good, like, important role.
This is something very specific that animation I had discussed, where we said that look, CLAT might say that prior knowledge of law is not required for the exam, but then when we teach, we should focus not just on what the law is, but why it is so, and what are the implications. So, and that actually makes things much more relevant for the student. It's not just that I'm studying for an exam, but I'm actually, I understand, I get the concept, the objective behind the way laws are framed, the thinking that is required to understand the laws, and so on. Good. And then you started for a 2 year program, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
And then most of the other the marks etc would have probably started a few marks in the first year but mostly in the second year.
Second.
So
Yes, sir.
what
Yes,
is
sir.
the role that marks played in your preparation and how did you use the marks to learn?
Sir, initially I was extremely nervous. I remember my first attempt, my first mock was somewhere in December, mid-December, and I was extremely nervous because I luckily was fortunate enough to have a senior who just graduated and made it into National Law School Bangalore, and he was a career launcher student. So he he constantly emphasized the importance of taking mocks. So I was extremely nervous for my first mock, and it didn't go that well, simply because I'd never written a mock before. But I think, apart from every other thing, I mean, it's pretty obvious that mocks were the only reason as to why I got into NLS Bangalore, because it's extremely imperative that all students write mocks, simply because you get an understanding of how the paper is going to be, and you have constant practice. So I think mocks played a major role. As and when the months passed by, I gradually started to improve upon my scores. And I think in the last 2 months, I started to write a mock on a daily basis, and analyzing them with my friends really helped my situation. And I started to see a lot of improvement. Like, there was drastic improvement. So in that way, yeah, mocks played a major role towards helping me reach my goal.
So when you write so many marks, I'm sure there were marks where performance would suddenly dip and you would see a lower score than expected. So how would you react to such a scenario and would you take it to the mentors? What would the mentors say?
So, funnily enough, my last week of mocks were probably the worst, simply because I had reached the point of saturation where I just did not want to write mocks. I would write them, and I would just in the middle completely lose all my focus. And my scores were all right; they were consistent, but again, it was disappointing because they were always at at one level. They wouldn't go up, nor would they go down. So I remember clearly that the last week I stressed out extremely. I was very stressed out, and I was honestly panicking. So normally I like to have a lot of stress because it pushes me and it motivates me to study. But this one was something that I never felt before. So I remember calling up Animesh sir like hundreds of times before the exam, telling him that it's not working out, nothing's going the right way, and he would help a lot by just asking me to relax and just telling me to take it easy. So what I learned after writing the exam is that mocks are important, but rather than looking at the score, it's better to look at the percentile, and it's better to learn from your mistakes rather than looking at a mock and saying that I've made so many mistakes. Instead, you should look at it as an opportunity to learn from those mistakes so that you don't repeat them the next time. So, yeah, so that's about it.
Yes, so very well put. Mocks are a learning tool and they're not a judgment on whether you are good or not good or whether you'll make it or not make it. It's more from the sense that, okay, how can I improve? And where are the specific areas where I can improve? And that is the approach that helps a lot when it comes to learning. So, uh, we also, from CL Bangalore perspective, uh, decided to take students to a central location this year, at least for some mocks. So we brought people to Jayanagar So the first two, sorry, St. Joseph's.
St.
That is
Joseph's,
when you
yes.
kind of, hmm, that is when you kind of said, look, the people that I study with in Jayanagar or Indranagar are not the only people. They are more, fellow travelers kind of stuff. But more importantly, to create that atmosphere which is uh, much more like an actual CLAT exam. So how did it work out in the sense that did you get that feel that yes, this is a formal, similar to CLAT kind of an experience at Joseph's?
Oh yes, 100%. It's much, in my opinion, I think that was extremely important because writing at centers, you're often very comfortable. Like you don't get ACs in St. Joseph's, you don't get absolute silence in St. Joseph's. It's very different. Over there, I remember there was since the university being very close to the main road, there would be a lot of disturbance from the vehicles passing by, and I think it's very important to get used to that because you don't have an excuse in the real exam. You have 120 minutes. There is no excuse, no ifs and buts. You just need to go ahead and stay focused. So I think it was extremely important, and it was not just the atmosphere. It was everything leading up to the university. For example, the travel time, the duration. I mean, all of this adds up to the real experience. So I think it was a great initiative, and it actually helped me a lot to get used to the feeling of writing an actual exam.
As you just said, St. Joseph College of Law is the actual CLAT venue, also one of the actual CLAT venues. So, in that sense, it kind of, if there is a main road and traffic in a mock, it is also a main road and traffic in the real exam. So, in that sense, it simulates. So, I'm glad that helped, and we'll probably take that up and ensure that probably more such sessions are done for the next 25 batch when they take their marks. Good. So, when did you give your exam, CLAT 24, the actual exam, the
So,
location?
mine was in B.R. Ambedkar Institute of University. B.R. Ambedkar Engineering, whatever, Technology Institute.
Yes, yeah, Institute of Technology. Yes. So this year, I'm sure you've seen a lot of people calling, making various comments about this particular mark. English being pretty easy or ultra easy, GK being a little weird with answers being there in the passage, different from earlier years. Logic being a little, some of the questions a little being a little close and ambiguous. So what was your experience? And during the exam, what was your thinking like?
So, like I said before, this was the first time I actually ever wrote such an exam of such importance. So, I remember the first 10 minutes, I was only able to complete one passage of legal. And the reason why I start with legal is because it's my best area, and it stimulates my brain quickly. So, I'm quickly focused, and I tend not to make a lot of errors. But it was a little different this time because it took me 10 minutes to just get through one passage simply because of the nerves. But as I was writing the paper, I kind of realized that the paper is moderate. I wouldn't say it was easy, and I wouldn't say it was tough. It was moderate, and I realized that this paper was all about attempts rather than how accurate you are. So I remember going back at the end of the exam when there was like 5 minutes left, and I attempted six more questions because I realized the higher attempts I have, the better chances I have of getting into NLS, and surely that paid off. So I think while writing the exam, it's extremely important that you analyze the exam and you get a quick idea of what is to be done and what is not to be done. So I think I did that the right way, and I was able to navigate my way through the obstacles, and I ended up doing pretty well.
I think that's a very important insight that we get that in this particular paper, it's not necessarily true for every paper, but this particular paper, the number of attempts was critical. I think as we keep talking to the toppers, we see that almost everyone is in the high attempt zone. It could be a 115 or a 118 or all 120, but it's in that zone. By making that higher attempts, you're giving yourself a chance in a paper which is a bit high scoring and lot of people bunched around at that higher, relatively higher scores. So end of the paper, you were happy, and just relieved that it's over. What's the while you kind of came back home from the center?
So it was actually funny because the paper went really well, but I made a mistake of marking two answers wrong because of the OMR,
Mm,
and that really got me a bit nervous. But I knew I performed really well, but I could not stop thinking about those two errors simply because it was 2.5 marks gone. And that could make a huge, huge impact because this was an exam where, like you said, sir, a lot of people would have more or less the same scores. But
Right.
once the answer key came out, the professional answer key came out, obviously everything became much better. I was still a bit stressed out, but then obviously I called the CL faculty and the teachers there. Obviously, they helped me out and they said, "Don't worry, you can just relax for a bit." So I think that really helped me out. So I was relatively happy when I came out of the exam.
I think one thing that uh, people tend to underestimate is the amount of pressure that a high stakes competitive exam has with limited time. I mean, you know that I gave the exam too. In fact, I gave it at Ambedkar too. Despite not having the stress that students have, even I made a couple of very silly mistakes, right? And that's what we keep telling students, you know, be careful, don't make silly mistakes. But I know that it's not that you can make zero silly mistakes. It's, I mean, you're lucky if it happens that way, but one or two kind of happen for almost everybody. I mean, I made for all my experience something like 12 is to 13 and 13 is to 12. I picked the wrong answer, so as bad as that. And yes, I also made one OMR marking mistake in the English section. Despite it's only, you know, I was not marking in groups. It's just taking five OMR, five answers to five answers transfer. But yes, even they're inexplicable. Sometimes you don't explain why it happened, despite all the practice, but it happens. Good. So next few days were how anxious, tense, or you said, look at this is done. Let me focus on highlight.
So I did not have much time to focus on ALET because I had my school exams going on. So it was really tough
Okay,
to strike a
right.
balance between the two. But obviously, I could not get my mind out of CLAT simply because I kind of realized that I performed really well. And after speaking to Anime sir, he explained it to me that I should relax and I performed really well. But obviously, that anxiousness is always bound to be there. No matter who tells you that it's fine, you're still obviously going to feel a little nervous. So I was nervous, but once the final answer key came out, I think I completely relaxed and I was very relaxed and I thought that I should be able to get into NLS. And the following day, the results came and I was ecstatic.
Wonderful. And the reaction when you saw the score and the rank?
I was I actually was very nervous to see it myself. So my senior, my friend, he was the one who had access to everything, and he informed me that I made it. And then I was overwhelmed. I actually did not believe it for a second, and then when I saw it myself, I was really really surprised and I was really happy.
So this is the senior from NLS.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you can name him.
Oh, sir, his name is Aprameya, sir. Aprameya Sheshadri.
Right. Wonderful. Right. Obviously, he's a CL student too. That's why I said yes, we could go ahead and name him. Right. Wonderful. You probably were there when we got the last year's toppers to interact with the students, which incidentally also was done in Joseph's. You were there?
No, sir, I wasn't there.
I think you missed that particular section. So, but okay, I'm sure this year you'll be there when you'll be set of people giving advice and answering questions. So what we do is we bring all the toppers who've made it, or as many as we can manage on that day, to come and interact with the 2025 students. So one is, I'm sure the faculty are saying the same things, but it helps to have a fresh face, answer questions, and share their experience, which is very, very recent, uh, and that has a lot of impact on students and how they prepare, right? So that's broadly it. We are very, very happy to see students succeed, and very happy that uh, uh, people from Career Launcher in significant numbers will go to NLS, especially from Career Launcher Bangalore. Uh, I'm sure you have friends who will probably be making that journey with you. This batch, I'm sure
Yep.
Aparna is already there, but yes,
Yes, sir. Yes,
good,
sir.
good. So, how important is having that peer group in terms of people who work together or discuss or push each other a little bit in the classroom?
So I think it all comes down to an individual and on how each individual prefers to study. For me, I had my one of my really close friends. I did my work with her. I would split my GK where I would focus on one aspect and she would focus on the other, and it really helped each other out because we explained how notes were to be made and from what sources it were to be taken. So it helped the process out. But towards the end, I really liked my own company, so I decided to analyze mocks by myself because it was more convenient rather than
Okay.
meeting at a mutually convenient time. I would look whenever I'm free, and I would constantly go ahead with my preparation as well. But I think it's important that you have someone who's constantly motivating you and pushing you, because there can be times where you can be completely exhausted, because that's what happened to me towards the end. I was completely exhausted. I lost all interest. It's not that I was not confident. I was confident, but I just couldn't take the I just couldn't use my time and continue writing mocks because I was extremely saturated. So in that sense, peer groups do have its advantages, but again, I think it all comes down to an individual, and yeah, it depends on the
True.
person.
In fact, one of the things that we've kind of recommended at the end is kind of, gently slowing down in the last week or so and, reducing the number of marks and the number of hours, more of a mental freshness kind of thing. So that also works because sometimes, yes, you've done enough. I'm sure, of course, nothing feels like enough, but yes, we kind of
Yeah.
know that students have done enough and there's no need to really push yourself too much in the last 1 week. So, right. Thank you, Arjun. Once again, congratulations to you, your family, and yep, best wishes for your career. We will anyway meet in the Achievers Meet where we bring in all the people from across Bangalore who made it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.